Beloved friends, there is a secret law, hidden in plain sight, that governs the flow of supply into our lives. It is the law of the spoken word, the law of naming, the law of calling forth that which is unseen into the seen. Money, like every other form of supply, responds to the vibration of your words, to the conviction of your faith, and to the certainty of your spirit. Too many walk this earth speaking against the very thing they desire. They call money hard to get. They call it scarce. They call it fleeting, fickle, or untrustworthy. And so money, like a faithful servant, obeys their command and hides itself from them. For what you name a thing, so it must be in your life. If you call money lack, it will arrive in lack. If you call it struggle, it will come clothed in struggle. But if you call money abundance, if you call it your divine inheritance, if you call it good and ever flowing, then it will hasten to your gates with joy. Money is not wicked, nor is it unspiritual. It is God's gold, energy in motion, waiting to serve. It has ears to hear. It has feet to walk, and it will go wherever you send it when you speak with authority. The one who fears money pushes it away. The one who despises money insults the giver of every good gift. But the one who blesses money, who calls it holy, who declares it free, flowing and unending, shall never know want. Each word you speak is a seed sown in the invisible garden of supply. If you say, money is always flowing to me, you have sown a seed of riches. If you say, I never have enough, you have planted poverty. Remember, the soil never questions the seed, the law never questions the word, it simply brings forth after its kind. Call money by its true name: abundance, freedom, joy, service, ease. Speak to it as you would speak to a trusted friend. Say to it, money, you are welcome in my life. You come to me in perfect ways. You serve me and I serve humanity through you. In this way, you cleanse your consciousness of fear and command supply to manifest. There are those who wait for chance, for luck, for the world to shift in their favor. But the awakened soul knows that luck is simply faith spoken aloud, expectancy made manifest. To call money by name is to summon it from the unseen storehouse of spirit into your hands. To call it rightly is to align with the law that has always been and always will be. When you speak, speak not from desperation but from authority. The universe is a listening ear, always attentive to the words upon your tongue. Let those words be rich. Let them be generous. Let them be filled with thanksgiving. Say often, money is divine substance. It is inexhaustible. It flows to me freely, abundantly, and joyously. I am a perfect channel for its circulation. And as you declare, so it shall be established. When you understand that what you call money, it becomes in your life, you begin to recognize the immense power hidden within the words you speak every day. Most people do not realize that language is not only a means of communication, but also a creative force, a channel through which invisible substance takes form. Every time you describe money, you are setting the law of attraction in motion, commanding unseen energy to shape itself, according to the word you have declared. If you speak of money as scarce, difficult, and untrustworthy, then you establish conditions of scarcity, difficulty, and mistrust around your financial life. If you name it abundant, flowing, and ever present, then it must arrive in accordance with that description. For the spoken word holds within it the creative spark of spirit. The universe listens and responds, not to what you wish in silence, but to what you boldly affirm with conviction. The ancient truth has always been that the tongue holds the power of life and death. When applied to money, this means that the way you speak of it can either breathe life into your finances or diminish them. Those who habitually say, I can't afford this. Money doesn't stay with me. Or, it's so hard to make ends meet, are actually giving direct commands to money to behave in alignment with those statements. Money, being energy, obeys the vibration it is sent forth with. It is like a loyal servant waiting for instructions. If you give it instructions of lack, it will shrink and disappear. If you give it instructions of increase, it will rise and multiply. Words are never idle. They are seeds that take root in the soil of the subconscious and grow into the experiences of life. It is not only the words you speak aloud, but also the words you think and feel in your inner dialogue. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is whispered, thought, or shouted. It only receives impressions. And since the subconscious mind connects directly with the universal field of supply, it becomes the magnet drawing to you the very conditions you have spoken into being. When you declare money to be hard to get, your subconscious accepts this as law and aligns circumstances to make it so. When you declare money comes easily, freely, and continuously, your subconscious aligns conditions to manifest that truth. The universe is impartial and obedient. It does not argue with you. It fulfills your declaration. Those who live in constant complaint about money are, without realizing it, building a fence against their own prosperity. Complaints are negative prayers, affirmations of what you do not want, yet spoken with such passion and repetition that they become magnetized realities. To complain that there is never enough is to order the universe to provide you with experiences where there is never enough. To fear that money slips through your hands is to instruct money to slip away. What you call it, it becomes, and what you bless, blesses you. This is why blessing money, no matter how small the sum, multiplies it. When you receive even the smallest coin, and declare it a symbol of endless abundance, you call forth the presence of more. You tell the universe, I recognize this as divine supply, and I welcome it in greater measure. Thus money, feeling honored, seeks you more often. Consider the difference between two individuals. One says constantly, I never have enough, everything is too expensive, I can't keep up. The other says, money comes to me in perfect ways, I always have enough for my needs, my supply is overflowing. Both are operating under the same universal law, but their words call forth entirely different realities. The first builds a fortress of lack through their speech, ensuring money evades them. The second builds a temple of abundance through their declarations, ensuring money finds them. The law does not show favoritism, it only mirrors back what is spoken with conviction. If you call money a struggle, it will show itself a struggle. If you call it freedom, it will arrive carrying the fragrance of freedom. The power of calling money rightly lies in consistency. It is not enough to speak abundance once and then spend the rest of your days contradicting it with words of worry and lack. The universe responds most strongly to repeated, unwavering declarations. Every word is a seed, and just as seeds take time to grow, so too do words need patience and nurture. When you continue to call money abundant, flowing, joyful, and sufficient, even when appearances show the opposite, you water the seed of prosperity until it breaks through the soil of your experience. To give up too soon and return to words of lack is to dig up the seed before it can grow. Faith is proven by the steadfastness of your speech in the face of appearances. Money has no choice but to take on the form you assign to it. When you call it good, it is good. When you call it evil, it manifests in ways that trouble you. Many have driven away wealth because they repeatedly declared, money is the root of all evil, forgetting that it is not money itself but the love of money that corrupts. Money is neutral energy, ready to serve according to the name you give it. Call it a tool of freedom, and it will set you free. Call it a channel for generosity, and it will enable you to bless others. Call it a burden, and it will weigh you down. The law is precise. The identity you assign to money through your words determines the relationship you experience with it. In daily practice, it is wise to become vigilant over your tongue and notice the unconscious ways you name money. Do you call it never enough? Do you call it hard to earn? Do you call it gone too quickly? Replace those unconscious names with conscious affirmations. Money is always enough. Money comes easily and joyfully. Money remains with me and grows. As you shift the names, you shift the energy. Words spoken with feeling rewrite the script of your financial story. What you call money, it becomes, and when you master the art of naming it rightly, you master the flow of abundance itself. Money responds to blessing, gratitude, and affirmation because it is not a lifeless object, but an expression of divine substance, an energy that takes on the quality of the consciousness with which it is approached. When you bless money, you acknowledge it as good, you sanctify it, and you lift it into its rightful place as a servant of spirit. Blessing transforms your relationship with money from one of fear, resentment, or struggle into one of harmony, appreciation, and flow. What you bless expands, for blessing is a declaration of divine recognition, and all that is recognized as divine multiplies in your experience. When you give thanks for the money you have, no matter how small, you open the door for greater sums to enter, for gratitude is a magnet that draws more of what it appreciates. When you affirm that money comes easily, joyfully, and continuously, you are aligning your inner vibration with abundance, and the outer world must reflect it. The person who curses money, who says it is dirty, who regards it as a source of evil, is unknowingly pushing it away. Money, like all energy, responds to the treatment it receives. If you condemn it, it will condemn you by eluding you. If you treat it with suspicion, it will act in ways that seem unreliable. If you bless it, it will bless you by remaining with you and multiplying. The act of blessing is not simply a religious ritual but a metaphysical law. To bless money is to declare it sacred, to see it as part of the divine plan for freedom, service, and joy. As you hold a coin or a note and say, "I bless you, you are good, you bring me freedom," you bless all those you touch. You are sending forth vibrations that return to you, as expanded prosperity. Gratitude has within it the seed of multiplication. When you give thanks for the little, you prepare the ground for the much. Many overlook this simple truth and withhold gratitude until they believe they have reason to give it, not realizing that gratitude is the very reason more can come. A person who despises their current financial state and constantly complains about what they lack creates resistance in consciousness. Their heart is closed, and a closed heart cannot receive. But one who looks at even a small sum and declares, "Thank you, this is proof that supply is alive and flowing. I am grateful for this and for the more that is on its way," prepares the subconscious mind to expect increase. That expectation calls forth the law of growth, and the money they have becomes the seed of a harvest far greater. Affirmation is the conscious act of planting the seeds of abundance into the soil of the mind. Just as a gardener repeats the action of watering and tending to the plants, so must you repeat affirmations until they take root and bear fruit. To say, "Money comes to me in perfect ways, money flows to me easily, I am always supplied, I am divinely prospered," is not mere positive thinking. It is aligning your speech with the truth of universal supply. Affirmations are creative decrees. They reprogram the subconscious mind, which in turn directs energy to manifest circumstances that match the spoken word. Each affirmation is a command to the unseen realm, and the unseen always becomes the seen. When spoken with faith, affirmation is the most powerful tool for reshaping your financial life. Those who neglect the practice of affirmation often find themselves repeating unconscious declarations of lack. They say, "I can't afford it, I never have enough, money is always slipping away." These negative affirmations are just as powerful as the positive ones. For the law does not distinguish between what you want and what you fear. It only echoes what you declare. The difference lies in the intention. Negative affirmations create conditions of lack, while positive affirmations create conditions of abundance. This is why vigilance over your words and thoughts is vital. By replacing every statement of lack with one of supply, you redirect the flow of energy and set your financial life on a new course. Blessing, gratitude, and affirmation together form a trinity of prosperity. Blessing sanctifies money, gratitude multiplies it, and affirmation directs it. Blessing changes your attitude toward money, so that you no longer resist it or see it as unworthy. Gratitude opens your heart to receive more, for a grateful heart is like fertile soil. Affirmation gives precise direction to the universal substance, telling it exactly how to manifest in your life. Without blessing, money may feel like a burden. Without gratitude, money may appear and vanish without growth. Without affirmation, money may come but without clear direction or increase. But when all three are practiced together, you align perfectly with the divine law of supply. A powerful practice is to take a moment each day to handle whatever money you have and bless it. Hold it in your hands and say, "I bless this money, it is holy substance, it multiplies in my life, it blesses everyone it touches." Then give thanks. "I am grateful for this money, for it shows me that supply is ever present. I thank the divine for all that is here, and for the abundance that is on its way." Finally, affirm, "Money flows to me easily, constantly, and joyfully. I am richly supplied and prosperous in all that I do." These simple acts spoken consistently transform the vibration of your finances. What once felt scarce begins to expand. What once seemed difficult becomes effortless, and what once was feared becomes a joyful companion. It is important to understand that money itself has no resistance. The resistance exists in the human consciousness. Blessing removes resistance by dissolving judgment. Gratitude removes resistance by dissolving dissatisfaction. Affirmation removes resistance by dissolving doubt. Together they create a clear, open channel through which divine supply flows unhindered. Money cannot resist a consciousness that welcomes it with joy, honors it with blessing, appreciates it with gratitude, and directs it with affirmation. Just as water flows freely into an open vessel, so too does money flow into an open, receptive, grateful heart. When you practice these laws, you begin to see money differently. No longer do you see it as elusive or untrustworthy, but as a faithful servant, always responding to the vibration of your soul. You realize that each dollar is not merely paper or metal but energy, ready to be multiplied and circulated. You understand that money carries the imprint of your words, and when those words are blessing, gratitude, and affirmation, money responds with generosity. Your financial life becomes less about chasing and more about attracting, less about struggle and more about harmony. Money ceases to be something to fear or resent and becomes a joyful partner in the dance of life. Words are seeds. Speak abundance, not lack, for the entire universe responds to the vibrations carried upon your tongue. Every word you utter plants itself into the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, and the subconscious never questions whether a seed is good or bad, true or false. It only receives, nurtures, and grows the seed into visible form. When you speak words of abundance, you sow the seeds of prosperity, joy, and freedom, and these must eventually spring forth in your experience. When you speak words of lack, you sow the seeds of poverty, limitation, and struggle, and these too must grow into harvest. The law of speech is impartial, but it is unfailing. Just as the earth does not argue with the farmer about what kind of seed has been planted, the universe does not argue with you. It only gives back multiplied what you have sown in word. Many people destroy their prosperity without realizing it, because they are careless with their words. They speak lack without thought, saying things like, "I can't afford this," "Money is always short," or "Life is a struggle." Each of these statements is a seed of limitation. Repeated often, they sink deep into the subconscious, creating patterns that reproduce themselves in outer circumstances. These people look at their lives and see only evidence of struggle, not knowing that the struggle began with the seeds they themselves planted in word. They blame fate, luck, or external conditions. Yet the truth is that the harvest they experience was determined by the crop of words they spoke yesterday, last week, and years before. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner word, and the inner word is created by what you habitually speak and believe. The wise soul becomes a careful gardener of speech, understanding that words are never idle. To say something lightly or in jest does not cancel its creative power. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor. It accepts what is spoken with conviction or repetition. Therefore, if one continually jokes about being broke, always laughing about never having money, those words plant themselves just as surely as serious ones. It is not the momentary statement that creates the greatest impact but the constant pattern of speech. What you continually declare, the universe continually shapes. If the pattern is lack, lack will be the result. If the pattern is abundance, abundance must appear. To speak abundance is to align your tongue with truth, for in reality, supply is infinite. There is no actual lack in the divine order. Lack exists only in human consciousness when it has cut itself off from the flow of good. When you affirm abundance, you are not creating something new, but removing the false belief in limitation, and allowing the river of supply to flow freely into your life. Words of abundance break down the mental walls of fear and scarcity. They call forth the unseen substance of prosperity and guide it into manifestation. Saying, "I am abundantly supplied. Money flows to me freely," or, "I have more than enough," may at first feel untrue to the outer appearance. Yet every repetition waters the seed, and strengthens its roots, until the appearance must change to match the inner declaration. It is important to understand that words are vibrational commands. Each word carries a frequency, and that frequency calls to itself like vibrations in the unseen. When you speak words of abundance, you tune yourself to the frequency of wealth, and circumstances, opportunities, and people of wealth begin to resonate with you. When you speak words of lack, you tune yourself to the frequency of poverty, and circumstances of limitation are drawn to you. This is not chance but law. The vibration you send out is the vibration that returns. Like attracts like, and words are the primary medium through which vibrations are set in motion. Speaking abundance requires discipline. For the world is full of voices that echo lack and fear. Many around you may constantly discuss shortage, economic difficulty, or financial struggle. To join in those conversations is to plant the same seeds in your own garden. But the awakened soul chooses instead to speak words of life, regardless of the appearance. If others say, "Things are hard," you may quietly affirm, "I live under divine supply, and I am always provided for." If others declare, "There is not enough to go around," you may say, "There is always enough for me," for divine substance is inexhaustible. By guarding your words, you separate yourself from the collective seeds of lack, and cultivate a harvest of your own choosing. The transformation that occurs through speaking abundance is gradual yet powerful. In the beginning, you may feel resistance, for the subconscious has been conditioned by years of lack, thinking. Yet just as a garden once filled with weeds can be reclaimed by planting new seeds and pulling up the old, so too can the mind be renewed. Each abundant word displaces an old belief, and over time, the soil of consciousness becomes fertile for prosperity. As you persist in affirming abundance, you find yourself not only attracting more financial supply, but also more joy, peace, opportunities, and harmonious relationships, for abundance is not limited to money. It is the overflow of all good things. Speaking abundance creates an atmosphere of increase in every area of life. One of the greatest practices is to give thanks for what you already have, and speak words of increase over it. When you receive even the smallest coin, you can say, "This is blessed substance, and it multiplies in my life." When you pay a bill, you can declare, "I am grateful for this opportunity to circulate abundance, and as I release this money, it returns to me multiplied." When you see money flowing to others, you can say, "I rejoice in the abundance of others, for what I bless in others is increased in me." These simple spoken blessings plant seeds that cannot fail to bear fruit. Gratitude spoken aloud is one of the highest forms of abundance language, for it combines acknowledgement of good with expectation of more. It is also vital to remove words of lack from your vocabulary entirely. Words such as, "I can't afford," "There's not enough," or "I'm broke," should be erased, for they are destructive seeds that perpetuate poverty. Replace them with words that affirm possibility and sufficiency, such as, "I choose not to spend on that at this time, but I am abundantly provided for," or "More money is flowing to me now," or "I am rich in all ways." By eliminating negative speech, you stop planting weeds and give your abundant seeds room to grow. Silence is better than negative words, but positive words are better than silence. The absence of lack words creates space, and the presence of abundant words fills it with prosperity. Every successful person understands, consciously or unconsciously, the principle that words shape reality. They speak of their ventures in terms of growth, success, and opportunity, even when the outer picture is not yet clear. Their consistent declarations eventually become their reality, for the subconscious accepts what is repeated, and the universe delivers what is decreed. The unsuccessful, on the other hand, habitually speak of problems, losses, and difficulties, and so they reap the harvest of those words. The difference between the two is not chance, but the language they have chosen to plant in the garden of their minds. Speaking abundance is not denial of reality, but creation of a higher reality. To declare, "I am prosperous," when appearances suggest otherwise is not lying, it is calling forth the truth of your divine nature. Appearances are temporary, but the law of abundance is eternal. Words bridge the gap between the eternal and the temporary, pulling unseen substance into form. The outer must eventually conform to the inner word, for speech is the channel of creation. Just as in the beginning, When the command was spoken and worlds were formed, so too does every individual speak their world into being. To speak abundance is to use the creative power of the word to manifest heaven on earth, calling money by its true name aligns you with divine supply, because everything in the universe has an essence, a spiritual identity, and when you recognize and name it according to its truth, you bring yourself into harmony with the law that governs it. Money is not chaos. It is not random. It is not a cruel trick of fate. It is substance. It is energy. It is a channel through which the infinite gives form to provision, freedom, and circulation. When people misname money by calling it evil, scarce, dirty, or unworthy, they cut themselves off from its rightful flow. For their words and thoughts repel the very supply they seek. But when you call money abundance, when you call it good, when you call it a servant of spirit and a tool for blessing, then you align with its true nature, and the supply begins to move toward you in unexpected and marvelous ways. To call money by its true name is to see it not as master but as servant. It is not meant to enslave or control. It is meant to obey the divine will within you. The one who fears money, or despises it, elevates it to a false position, but the one who calls it rightly as divine substance keeps it in its proper place. You are not subject to money. Money is subject to you. For spirit within you is the true authority. By speaking of money as obedient, faithful, and abundant, you remind yourself and the universe of its rightful role. This shifts your relationship from struggle to ease, from fear to mastery. Money cannot resist one who recognizes its truth. For truth has power over illusion. Many people live in conflict with supply, because they have been taught to think of money as something separate from spirit. They believe it belongs to the world and therefore is corrupt, forgetting that all substance is of divine origin. To say that money is evil is to deny the source from which it flows. It is the misuse of money that corrupts, not the money itself. When you call money by its true name, you lift it out of the realm of fear and place it back into its rightful position as a tool of divine circulation. You see it as energy that can build homes, feed families, educate children, and spread beauty. You see it as a river that flows where directed, not as a prison that binds. By calling it rightly, you redeem it in your own consciousness and invite it to appear in greater measure. Alignment with divine supply happens the moment your words and thoughts match the eternal truth. Supply is infinite, and the only limitation is the name you give it. When you say, money is always hard to get, you are calling it something it is not, and the universe mirrors back the distortion. When you say, money flows to me easily and joyfully, you are calling it by its true name, for the nature of divine substance is effortless circulation. To align is to step out of illusion and into truth, and truth always frees. Just as calling light by its name dispels darkness, calling money by its true name dispels lack. It brings your consciousness into resonance with the inexhaustible storehouse of spirit, from which all visible forms of supply are drawn. The practice of naming money rightly is a form of command. It is not begging, it is not hoping, it is declaring. You do not plead with money to appear. You call it forth by acknowledging what it already is. The shepherd calls the sheep, and they come because they know their name. In the same way, when you call money abundance, circulation, freedom, and blessing, it responds to the call, for it knows its name. But when you call it hard, scarce, or dirty, it withdraws, for those names are not its truth. The authority lies not in force but in recognition. When you speak in alignment with truth, you carry the authority of spirit, and the universe rushes to fulfill the word. This is why affirmations hold such creative power. They are not empty repetitions but acts of naming, aligning, and commanding. Each time you say, money is divine substance, and it flows to me in perfect ways, you are renaming money according to its truth. You are stripping away the false identities given to it by fear, greed, and limitation, and returning it to its essence. As you do this consistently, your subconscious shifts, and once the subconscious aligns, the outer world follows. Circumstances, opportunities, and people begin to appear as channels of supply, not because they suddenly changed, but because your words tuned you into the frequency where supply already existed. By calling money rightly, you placed yourself on the wavelength of abundance. When you look around at life, you can see that misnaming has caused countless problems. People misname health by calling it sickness, and sickness appears. They misname relationships by calling them difficult, and difficulty manifests. They misname opportunities by calling them scarce, and scarcity is all they see. In the same way, when money is misnamed, lack becomes the harvest. Yet all along, the truth was different. Health was always present beneath the illusion of sickness. Harmony was always available beneath the illusion of conflict. Abundance was always flowing beneath the illusion of lack. To call a thing by its true name is to pierce through the illusion and reveal the eternal reality. Money responds immediately when it is seen in this way, for it longs to fulfill its divine purpose of circulation, and blessing and exercise in alignment is to consciously speak to money as you would to a trusted companion. Say, "Money, you are my friend. You serve me and I honor you. You flow to me in perfect ways, and you bless all that you touch. You are not hard to get. You are plentiful and constant. You are divine substance in action, and I call you into my life now in overflowing measure." These words are not mere imagination. They are calls to the essence of money. They vibrate with truth, and truth draws manifestation. When repeated with conviction, such declarations dissolve the old misnamings and establish a new relationship. Soon you find that where once there was struggle, there is ease. Where once there was scarcity, there is overflow. Calling money by its true name also removes guilt and fear. Many are afraid to prosper because they secretly believe it makes them selfish or corrupt. But when you name money rightly, you see it as a tool for service. You realize that wealth allows you to express more of who you are, to give more, to create more, to bless more. You no longer fear being judged for having money, because you know it is simply divine substance flowing through you. You no longer feel guilty for desiring it, because desire for supply is simply the soul's recognition of its birthright. By calling money good, holy, abundant, and rightful, you cleanse your consciousness of the lies that kept it away. The law is simple but profound. The name you give a thing determines your relationship with it. When you call money difficult, it becomes difficult. When you call it abundant, it becomes abundant. The universe listens to your words and reflects them back through circumstances. Divine supply is endless, but it must be invited through recognition. To name money rightly is to align yourself with the flow that has always been, the stream of provision that never runs dry. It is to step into harmony with the truth that abundance is your natural state, and that money, when seen as it truly is a joyful servant of spirit. Money is a servant of spirit, flowing where it is welcomed. Because in truth it was never meant to be a master. It was never meant to dominate human life or dictate the terms of one's existence. Money is divine substance given form, a tool through which the invisible becomes visible, through which ideas are built, needs are met, and beauty is spread. It is spirit's energy condensed into material expression, and as such it was designed to move, to circulate, to obey the commands of consciousness. When you recognize money as servant and not master, you place it in its rightful role. You free yourself from the chains of fear, anxiety, and worship of money, and you begin to live in harmony with the divine law that governs supply. To welcome money is not to bow to it, but to open the gates of consciousness, so that spirit's river of abundance may flow through you unhindered. Many live in bondage to money, because they have misunderstood its place. They believe they must chase it, struggle for it, or submit to it. They bow before money as if it is greater than spirit, and in doing so, they fall into a state of servitude. But the truth is reversed. Money is the servant, spirit is the master, and you, as the channel of spirit, are meant to command it. When you give money the place of power, it becomes an idol, and idols always enslave. But when you put it in its proper place as tool and servant, it becomes obedient and cooperative. Money gladly serves the one who sees it rightly, for its essence is to move where it is welcomed, and to circulate where it is honored. Welcoming money does not mean clinging to it with fear, but creating an atmosphere of openness, gratitude, and respect. Just as a guest will not remain where it feels unwelcome, money will not stay in an atmosphere of resentment, suspicion, or disdain. If you speak against it, criticize it, or see it as evil, you are shutting the door on its presence. But if you bless it, appreciate it, and see it as a channel for good, you create an environment in which money is eager to dwell. Money loves circulation, and circulation begins with welcome. To say, "Money, you are good, you serve me, and I am grateful for you," is to create an open door through which divine supply flows continuously. Spirit designed money as a tool of exchange, a servant that enables giving and receiving to take visible form. Without it, circulation would be limited, but with it, circulation becomes effortless. It is not the gold or paper itself that holds the power, but the spirit, substance behind it. When you welcome money, you are not worshipping metal or paper. You are acknowledging Spirit's channel of provision. This recognition brings peace to the mind, for you no longer fear whether or not you will be provided for. You know that as long as Spirit is infinite, the servant of money will always appear where it is needed. To live in this faith is to walk in freedom, for you are no longer bound by appearances. You see beyond the form to the source, and from that source flows endless supply. Money, being servant, takes on the quality of the master it serves. In the hands of a fearful person, it creates more fear. In the hands of a greedy person, it amplifies greed. In the hands of a generous person, it multiplies blessing. This is why the attitude of the heart is so important. Spirit flows into money and gives it its tone. When you welcome money with a consciousness of love, service, and joy, it reflects those qualities back to you. It becomes a channel of peace, freedom, and abundance. But when you welcome it with suspicion, anxiety, or selfishness, it magnifies those qualities as well. To see money as servant of Spirit is to remind yourself that it has no independent power of its own. It only carries out the commands of the consciousness it serves. When you align with Spirit, money becomes an obedient helper in fulfilling divine purpose. To welcome money is also to welcome circulation. If you hoard it in fear, you choke the very flow you desire. The servant cannot perform its duty if locked away and unused. Money must move, for it was designed to flow like water. Water that is stagnant breeds disease, but water that flows remains pure and refreshing. In the same way, money held in fear stagnates and creates burden, but money that flows in faith circulates back multiplied. Welcoming money means allowing it to move freely, receiving it joyfully, using it wisely, giving it generously, and trusting it to return. In this circulation, the servant of money fulfills its divine role, and Spirit ensures there is always more. A powerful way to deepen your alignment with this truth is to treat money with honor in every form it appears. When you find even the smallest coin, do not despise it. Bless it and welcome it as a faithful servant arriving to remind you that supply is alive. When you pay a bill, instead of resenting the outflow, bless the money and say, "I release you joyfully, knowing you return multiplied." When you see others prosper, do not feel jealousy, but say, "I bless their money, for what I bless in others is increased in me." Each of these acts of blessing affirms that money is servant of Spirit, and flows where it is welcomed. Over time, you notice that money begins to stay with you longer, arrive more often, and grow in greater measure. The true test of whether you see money as servant or master is how you feel when you think about it. If you feel fear, tension, or bondage, you are still giving it the power of a master. If you feel peace, gratitude, and joy, you have placed it in its rightful position as servant. Fear binds, gratitude frees. The moment you call money servant, you free yourself from its chains, and remember that Spirit alone is the source. This realization brings balance, for you no longer crave money with desperation, nor reject it with disdain. You welcome it as a friend, you direct it as a servant, and you honor it as a tool of divine circulation. The universe operates by law, and one of its greatest laws is that of receptivity. What you welcome welcomes you. What you resist resists you. If you welcome money with fear, it comes with burden. If you welcome it with joy, it comes with blessing. If you shut the door with resentment, it turns away. If you open the door with gratitude, it enters gladly. The servant always responds to the vibration of the master. And you are the master when you stand in alignment with Spirit. By declaring money a faithful servant, you instruct it to serve you in harmony, and the universe must obey. Spirit never withholds, but it will not violate your words. When you welcome money rightly, you activate the law of supply and money, as obedient servant, flows where it is invited.